Hey everybody. Hello, hello. Sorry I haven't been live a lot lately, but I feel like this here is important. Um what we're covering today, I feel like. Let's see. I want to go over Killer Look's latest upload because if you guys had the I don't have very good options here. I guess I do have it on um, mobile. So this is Killer Looks. Link in the description. I have not watched it. Fred has watched it. I wanted to watch with you guys, but I know I'm going to love it because Fred told me it was really, really good. And I also, when I was covering this, I had asked Killer to please do something on this. So when I saw this, which he probably already had planned something to do on this anyways, but either way, I'm just happy to see him covering it because I think more people need to be. I think it's super important, but with the drama going on in the community and stuff, um, I don't know, haven't had a desire to come on, honestly. People are too focused on bullshit instead of what's important. So, but I feel like this here is, like I said, important. Okay, let's see. Over 600,000 people. So, okay, so over 90% of that got recovered. So that means, well, 90% or 10% of that would be 60,000. So like 60,000 of the 600,000 people like are never found. But 90% of the people who go missing are found. You wouldn't think that when we're because of the Summer Wells case, right? And the Sebastian Rogers and all the other cases that you guys have been watching. Um, you would think it was actually higher because it seems like, man, kids are going missing left and right. I shouldn't say just kids, like, and young adults. I have to have canned pop, and I grabbed only 6 of these yesterday. I have a couple 2 liters in there too, but guys, let me tell you. Tell me why that freaking those 2 liters are old, dude. I'm so mad. We have like a foot and a half of snow. Did you guys see the short I posted? I'm kind of waiting for some people to come in here, so we do have his video up and ready.
Make sure everybody can hear you. Because you sound really loud.
I seem loud? I seem what, Fred? Low, okay. Okay, if I'm low, I can turn it up if I'm too low, because I try to. So there's like, hey Amanda, hey Jessica, Shannon, Amos, Cold November. I already said Jessica, right? Everybody else back there in the back, Lisa, RJ, Fred, Half Full, Donna, Fat Snow Angel, but with the PHAT, not the FAT. Flying Doves and Sweet D. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Um, Darlene, Sue, Amanda. Anyway, you guys know I said hi, right? Please don't think I'm ever ignoring you. Wednesday night they were saying we were supposed to get 22 inches of snow in my area. Instead, we got 4 inches of slush. Yeah, I think it came up here instead. RJ, thanks a lot. You freaking jinxed us. Hey, Crazy Cat. You should do a reading on if any of this Sasha Riley stuff is somehow connected to the same trafficking ring. Well, if that's, I hate even saying that and putting that on Summer Wells, but I do know there was a lot of freaking weirdos around her, so. Yeah, RJ sent the snow this way. And he messages me and tells me, "Hey, have Fred look at the weather is coming this weekend for Tennessee, you know?" And I was like, "Ha ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Look what I get. Look what I get. I even told him to keep that shit down there and he didn't. He did not." This one's almost empty. On to number 2. I only have one more left. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Guys, you guys know how I am about my Diet Cokes. Like, those are... You know, what's your guys' favorite times of the day? Like, favorite... Do you guys have a favorite time of the day? I know I do. I'm turning in kind of to a morning person. So, morning and night person. I know. Crazy Cat, that'd be crazy. Crazy Cat. You guys keep your prayers too for Tiffany. I talked to her for the other day for like 6 hours. There's some stuff I want to talk about when it comes to her, but I want to do it, you know. I will say if anybody wants to help out, I will put this little part here. Like I did attach um the GoFundMe in the description, and I really want to help her get the tombs or the oh my gosh, I can't believe I used that word. The headstone that she really wants. I really don't want. She was talking about having to like get a different one because it was too expensive, and she designed it like especially for David. I just don't think that she should cut corners. And so yeah, and I'm gonna talk about that a later time, but I do want people to know like she could really use help in that area if anybody wants to help, and she's never going to come out and ask. I'm telling you that right now. So anyways, hey Sierra, Cheesecake Island, or yeah, Island. Yeah, thanks for keeping my help start getting crazy. Oh, you're good, November Rain. I know I haven't been on here very much, so I understand if you guys like. I've been trying to focus on other things going on. So, kind of waiting a little bit, see if we have more people coming in, but I guess we can go ahead and start. Let's just go ahead and start.
Every 2 minutes, a child is bought or sold for sex in the U.S.
Why did it go like that? Oh. So every 2 minutes, a child. Let me see if there's a way, actually. This story follows a trail of where some of the missing 10% may be.
Is this an uncomfortable topic for people?
It was uncomfortable
Oops, sorry.
for me. When we first discovered it with the Hope Box, I was mortified.
The Hope Box started in 2014, a nonprofit aimed at tackling the issues of infant and child abandonment. But with their work, they discovered infant and child sex trafficking. Is that really what I think it is?
Yes, it is what you think it is.
Sarah Copeland agreed to sit down with us and discuss the darkest and sickest crimes the organization sees.
They see these children as a mark.
We don't want distractions here. Come here. We don't want distractions, Band-Aid. He loves the snow. Who is this chick? She looks familiar.
Market has
As a
a commodity.
product.
Yes.
Who buys children and infants for sex?
I've seen old to young. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. It doesn't matter what your color is. It doesn't matter what your belief is.
In 2017, 60 people were arrested, 4 children found in an FBI-led sting that uncovered a child sex trafficking ring. Among the victims, a 3-month-old infant.
There's an echo. Guys. Okay. Let's try this.
And her 5-year-old sister. Their going price, $600. Sarah discovered another case of a mother trying to sell her own baby.
$600?
This young lady was serving men in Atlanta. The infant was in the hotel room. She had gotten arrested, and when she was getting out of jail, she sent a tip to the aunt that had the infant and said, "My pimps told me I could get a good price for my baby. I'm coming for it."
Legally, police and DFACS couldn't stop the mother from getting her infant back. Sarah got an emergency hearing with a judge who stepped in to protect the infant. These stories are 2 of many, some too disturbing to share.
This child had no say in what was happening to them. And even if they cried out for help, it's not like they could ever describe it.
Infants and children are found online on the dark web. They're often referred to using animals as code names.
3-month golden retriever, a black lab.
Whoa, okay. That's the first thing that sticks out to me. Golden retriever, black lab. Andy wears a dog necklace. Jody Sue says dogs are the key to the case, or are the freaking, you guys, that freaking makes me sick to my stomach. Oh no, I'm sorry, Kat. So, yay, thank you, November Rain. I appreciate you so much. Oh my gosh, Diana Lynn says that they've got 3 feet of snow. She's like East Coast area. Holy crap. How is that? I think Tiffany was telling me they only had I think we had a foot of snow when she said she had an inch of snow. I think we have like a foot and a half now or something. I haven't even looked. I'm just guessing. But this is probably the most, one of the, I don't think I've ever seen, in my lifetime, like I don't think I've seen more snow, really. I guess I'm sheltered. I know you guys, you older folk, there was a storm of 78. Back in my day, I had to walk to class in 5-foot snow. That was my dad talking about like he being on campus, walking to class, and I think it was a blizzard of 78. It was, and I just remember it because I've heard my dad talk about it so many times. But yeah, in my lifetime, I don't think I've seen this much snow. Maybe close, but snowed in.
But it's not just mothers selling their own babies. Children can be kidnapped and sold by others.
1978, very traumatic. Blizzard of 92. I was born in 81. Years ago, there used to be a thing where people would advertise a vacuum on like Craigslist or Facebook Market and would get really high prices, but there would be a bag of pills they were really selling. Oh, that's so nice, Colonial Vermarain. We do love Tiffany. She's the OG of the community. She truly is, guys. Like, that's who I started watching was like AB, like in the community. AB, Tiffany. You know, so, yeah. We had a huge snow in 2009 in Ohio, 22 inches. Holy moly. What do you guys got over there now, Heather? My dad plowed during the 78 blizzard. We made a ton of money, but my dad had to tunnel out of the house to get to the truck. Yeah. Yeah, those are good old days. I mean,
Don't ever look the other way. Better to be safe than sorry.
In Tennessee, on average, nearly 100 children are sold into sex trafficking each month.
Human trafficking is something that's happening in every city, every county, and every zip code right here in Tennessee. January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. I talked with Stacey Elliott, community engagement specialist with End Slavery Tennessee. She tells me there's an enormous misconception about who these human traffickers are. In our area, it rarely has anything to do with abduction or kidnapping, but often it's a family member or someone a child knows. Elliott says all of us should know red flags for human trafficking. Among the indications that someone may be a victim, evidence of abuse and reluctance to explain, unexplained sudden increase in money or possessions, fear of authority figures, moves frequently from place to place, appears withdrawn, depressed, or checked out.
Trafficking of children is a sneaky crime. You may not even realize it happens in the Tri-Cities. That's because it flies under the radar most of the time.
I'd say that it happens here just as much. It just looks a little bit different. More rural areas, and especially in East Tennessee, we see a lot of familial trafficking in disadvantaged areas, areas that there's a lot of drug addiction, poverty.
That means the most common way for children to be trafficked in Tennessee isn't through abduction or kidnapping. In fact, for the overwhelming majority, it starts in the home or with someone they trust.
The majority of children who are being
with the TikTok thing. I did that for the first time on one of my videos the other day. I'm getting with the times, guys.
sold for sex sleep in their own beds at night.
Survivors need to be believed and they need to be heard.
A new batch of the Epstein Files involves a nonprofit based in Nashville. According to the files, in 2019, the organization got some sort of referral call and wrote this investigative report about the woman's allegations. According to the report, the woman says she was sexually trafficked around the age of 5 when she recalls being forced to live under a house in a crawl space. She said around that time she was taken to Florida.
This is a news report where it says Epstein Files reveal connection to Nashville. Now, Nashville is like over 3 hours away, I believe, from Rogersville, but still, we know, we see people going missing all the time, and
where she alleged there were several other young children who were also being trafficked. She told investigators when she was 17, she was sold again, this time in the U.S. Virgin Islands. She described being taken downstairs to a room that looked like a horse stall where she and other young girls were viewed and forced to have sex.
This crime is happening in communities right here in East Tennessee. One Knoxville survivor is now sharing her story in hopes of protecting others. Human trafficking often starts with manipulation, not force. A Knoxville survivor says she was trafficked as a child. She says what happened to her didn't look like what most people expect, and that made it harder to escape.
The whole time wasn't me locked up to chains or put in a room. There were certain times that things like that would happen, but other than that, I just had someone watching me at all times until one day I didn't. And I just took that chance to take off and took off running. I had no idea where I was at, where I was going, but I just ran until I seen the first house.
So this guy, Sasha, he was in the military, but he was trafficked by DJT and Epstein as a young boy.
People are afraid to say, you know, Donald Trump. This shit's scary.
Because they didn't have enough young boys.
My name is William Sasha Riley. I was born Manuel Sasha Waters.
Okay.
But my legal name is William Sasha Riley at this time. And I went to a party. This was at a farm. There were, I don't know, 25 to 50 people there. I mean, it was a good amount of people, but not a massive crowd by any stretch. But the experience that my dad sold to those people was, if you could pin me, then you could do whatever you wanted. But my dad had taught me how to fight. He had been a bare knuckle brawler earlier in his life, and I know that he had kind of just beaten people up for, you know, a little extra money at one point in his life. He also entered into like the man contest, stuff like that.
Adoptive father that he's speaking of, I don't know where he lives currently. I've been curious and been meaning to look into that. But I bet you he's freaking shitting bricks. I bet he's like, holy shit, dude. Well, you know, you do the crime, you do the time. Seriously, I'm tired of people protecting and enabling sickos and weirdos. And, you know.
That probably is how my dad got involved with these people, because, you know, you've got boxing and stuff like that on TV, but that's really all you had back in the 70s and 80s. You know, more the MMA type of stuff wasn't allowed. And these fights were a little, you know, gruesome. They didn't fight to the death or anything like that, but they were bloody, and, you know, I mean, these were fights, you know, and not just boxing. And so the rich people would pay to see that. Sometimes they'd have like a band playing, you know, just like what you would expect at like a fair or something, you know.
So the rich folks would get flown in, associated with Epstein, and they would pay to watch the victims fight. The victims were all underage. And would they pay to then assault the victims after the fights or during the fights? And they'd pay to torture the victims and rape the victims and kill the victims. Do you have any sense of where, like, you said there was lots of farms, different locations, but were you taken more often to one specific farm that you seem to remember more? Is that correct?
No. There was one in Tennessee that I went to a couple of times. I can remember the hillbillies that my dad sold me to when I was small. They were mean. But I can remember the meanest motherfuckers are those rich people.
My freaking God. Dude. Oh my God, dude. I heard the story about the hillbillies, but I didn't know that was in Tennessee. Oh my gosh. I wondered that if that was in Tennessee. Oh, jeez. Hold on. He says the rich
They're
people...
just demonic, Trump included.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you some questions there again. So with the rich folks that you were sold to, that was all associated with the Epstein-Trump trafficking ring. And you said to me you thought Trump ran things with Epstein. Is that true?
Oh, yes. He was not just a client. He was one of the people that facilitated all that stuff. It was almost like, this is just my childhood brain piecing it together. It was almost as if Epstein worked for Trump. And not just Trump, but him and maybe 6 or 8 other super rich guys. You know, at least one instance the school nurse got CPS involved, I believe,
Yeah.
in both Tennessee and Alabama because of the bruises that I showed up to school with.
Yeah.
You know, of course, my parents just said, hey, he's clumsy, you know, he fell out of a treehouse, or whatever excuse they gave. Pretty sure we still lived in Tennessee when they sent me to the brothel. And that's where I met Samantha, that's where I met Patricia and Sarah. Sarah died at the brothel. I never saw, obviously, her again. But then Patricia, I saw, it would have been months or a year later or whatever, at that party.
Yeah.
Samantha was already dead at that point. So, and then Patricia died at that party. The runaway was tortured to death in a duplex in Enterprise, Alabama. My parents did that, and that wasn't on film, not her being tortured, but that was that black girl that I'm telling you about, that they went and got her because they were afraid that this was after the investigation in Tennessee, and they were afraid that they would go down for child pornography. So they were wanting to kill her, and then they were wanting to get rid of me via an accident, but they couldn't because they had already tried to kill me several times. They had the incident in Texas involving the Chevy van. There was another instance in Texas where my dad threw me into the middle of a pool.
Well, he said it was Tennessee where the party was.
Don refers to the hillbillies as well.
Yeah, Fred everybody out there calls themselves hillbillies. So, but yeah, he said he was talking about how he lived in Enterprise, Alabama. We could rewind it a second here.
Ed Redmond comes from Alabama too.
Ed Redmond did? Yeah, I'm telling you.
This was after the investigation in Tennessee, and they were afraid that they would go down for child pornography. So they were wanting to kill her, and because they were afraid that in a duplex in Enterprise, Alabama.
This has happened in a duplex at Enterprise in Alabama. Okay, so he's talking about where a child was unalived, tortured to death by his parents, from my understanding, adopted parents. The ones that, adopted him, and the adoption had Dan Armstrong's wife on it and Dan Armstrong's wife's mother on it as the officials over it.
My parents did that, and that wasn't on film, in a duplex in Enterprise, Alabama.
So right here,
my
his
parents
parents did that. Okay.
That wasn't on film, not her being tortured, but that was that black girl that I'm telling you about, that they went and got her because they were afraid that this was after the investigation in Tennessee, and they were afraid that they would go down for child pornography. So they were wanting to kill her, and then they were wanting to get rid of me via an accident, but they couldn't because they had already tried to kill me several times. They had the incident in Texas involving the Chevy van. There was another instance in Texas where my dad threw me into the middle of a pool and said, "Sink or swim." And somebody saw it and called the sheriff, so there was a police report on that. And then there was a third instance in Texas where my dad threw me down a flight of stairs, and that one fractured my skull.
Yeah. And then there's the other instance where he had him swim in an area of riptide when he was a kid and ignored his cries for help. Yeah, he tells us.
There may have been other things that happened as well, but I remember those three were enough that they generated an investigation. There were enough things that happened in Texas that my dad moved from Texas to Tennessee, and they got trouble in Tennessee and were moved.
Texas to Tennessee. Who else lived in Texas? Don Wells. Just saying.
Trouble in Tennessee, and they moved to Alabama, got trouble in Alabama, and then we just moved one more time. to the best of my recollection, I reached out to the FBI in the beginning because I knew that the FBI had been involved in the one in Alabama, in that investigation in Alabama with in regards to Samantha, and also they were involved in the.
Yeah, this guy just came out with his story like recently. This interview was like done this like a couple weeks ago, or it was just put out a couple weeks ago. I think they did it during the summer.
Investigation that landed the parents of the girl that I did the one movie with in Tennessee in jail. I know that the FBI was involved in that one as well, so I figured they were.
I would love to know the name of those parents that got in what area in Tennessee he's talking about, like what area in Tennessee he lived. I still haven't heard exactly. I thought that Johnson City I saw was Johnson City, Tennessee, but it was Johnson City, Texas, that the stepmom was buried at. So that part, when I saw Johnson City, I thought that was, like I said, Tennessee, that person. But she still had ties to that Mary Lynn Riley. She's still, there was all over her obituary stuff about Greenville and Greene County. So, and that's that's the sicko stepmom that he talks about. He had so the one, just so you guys know, the stepmom that you see on his birth, or not his stepmom, I guess it wouldn't be stepmom, his adopted mom, okay, and so the first adopted mom passed away, and then he remarried. He doesn't remember anything about the first mother when, but he remembers, he said that Mary Lynn Riley, the second stepmom, is the main one, and that's the one who he says was just like absolutely demonic, like just horrible. And yeah, she's the one that has all those things about Greenville and Greene County all over her obituary. Hey, Chloe. It's good to see you.
As the larger scale operation, they would be the ones to go to. They then referred me back down to the local police.
What's your mom's name again?
Her name was Mary Lynn Riley. This would be
Mary Lynn Riley.
Third mom. I do have clear recollection of Mary Lynn Riley's involvement, but she died via suicide a number of years ago.
Why?
I can remember Lynn being absolutely furious because they were going to get this big payday for doing the child porn in Tennessee, but they wound up losing money on the deal because they got stiffed by whoever bought the film when it was done, and they had to spend, I think, some money on a lawyer, so it was a net loss for them.
A lawyer?
It was something to do with like the film wasn't as long as what they agreed to pay.
How did he get a lawyer for something illegal? Well, okay. I'm trying to think if that how you would. I guess you would have to just, play it off like it was a regular type film of some kind, a production of a different type film. That's the only, obviously that's what they would have to do.
Yeah. So they didn't make as much, and
But the films. Okay. And the filming, most of the filming parties was all associated with Trump and the Trump-Epstein Ghislaine pedophile ring. Different layers of parties.
Yeah, but it's a whole bunch of people.
So starting in 2021, Sasha was being public about what their father did to them. They also have been publicly accusing their father of trying to unalive them, being completely consistent with what we heard in that interview. I also confirmed that they did live at this address that's mentioned here. And again, all of the
this is dated January 17th, 2021. It says, you remember the time, it says, hey dad, you remember the time you tried to unalive me in the backyard? I do. if you're wondering which time, I'm talking about the time he beat me to the ground with a shovel and then tried to get the horse to trample me. You know, the one that caught the attention of local law enforcement in New Brockton, Alabama, when we lived at Blank Street, the one with the investigation and police report. Holy shit. So January 17th of 2021, I think 2020 and 2021 is when he started just posting stuff on his social medias. But from my understanding, like it did get the attention of people and stuff, his claims. So people started reaching out to him. And I think that's what happened here with this woman. I think like she reached out to him last summer or sometime or something like that. Because from my understanding, that's when, like I said, these interviews are. Hey, Robin. Mama Bear.
Details are matching up. Also pay attention to the date that they were publicly coming out and talking about this right when the transfer of power to Joe Biden was happening. And after hearing the interview, we know why. This is William Kyle Riley. And I'm going to try not to cry as I say this, but he and his newest wife, Cindy, and with everything in my body, I am hoping that this 6-year-old child does not live with them, even though they clearly have a room. I did in fact confirm.
That girl's name is Michaela. That was in 2025. Okay. 6-year-old. Okay. Just interesting. Anyways, so that was just, sorry, I had a conversation when that name came up, and so it just caught my eye. But it says, when Cindy Riley don't take a nap with a 6-year-old around, plus Michaela got a new bed. So it looks like they have a little 6-year-old around now. Wow. That is disturbing. I don't know. That has to be like his 4th wife, 5th wife, or something.
His wife, Cindy, and with everything in my body, I am hoping that this 6-year-old child does not live with them, even though they clearly have a room. I did in fact confirm that William Kyle Riley is a pilot.
He said a house in Enterprise, a duplex in Enterprise, Alabama. I'm sure there's other there's duplexes in Enterprise, Alabama. She covers it. She shows the house. She ends up finding it and showing it. I think it's been made into a house now from the way it looked. But it's set up, you could tell where it used to have 2 doors and it was a duplex. Yeah, that's all he talks about is Enterprise, I believe, is their house that they lived, or duplex that they lived at.
Through William, I was able to track down Mary Lynn Riley.
That is also a pilot. So that's so that's another thing that's interesting, and why his dad was so important to this, because his dad could fly anything. He could fly a single engine, he could fly commercial planes, and he could fly helicopters, whatever. So he was very important to these rich people because he could transport them anywhere. So it's interesting because how many times have we talked about like flying, you know, planes? And I mean, isn't Tim Mullins, like, what about that picture where he tags Don Wells and it was like in the late 70s or early 80s, and it said, and Tim Mullins says those were the good old days, and there's a single engine plane back there, I think it was, or something, and there was people standing around, and I believe one of them was Don Wells when he was like a very young man or a teenager, and it was also had a picture. It also had Tim Mullins in a picture. So we know that Tim Mullins flies planes, or has. And what about all those videos on Don Wells' Facebook of, you know, the kids? He would take the kids to fly these planes. So obviously Don had a connection to somebody who flew planes. I don't know about you guys, but my parents didn't have a buddy that I could just, you know, take to do helicopter flights and stuff. I mean, I got to, like, at my dad's work, because he worked at an electric company. But, I mean, it's just interesting to note that, you know, there's videos of the Wells boys in those planes and stuff like that. So,
Through her date of death, I was able to track down the picture of this monster as well. And on the surface, it seems like a normal obituary, right? Until you start reading.
So the times that he would have been talking about, because he said about 7 years old. So he's talking in the year, if he's 52 years old, it's 2026 now. So 26, 80, he would have been born in what, 74 or something? So he's talking about the late 70s. In Enterprise, you know what I mean? So it's, who knows?
Because as much as they talk about all the things about Lynn, they never talk about things like her profession, nor do they mention the time she lived in Georgia and Indiana and Missouri. These people moved around all the time, as if they were trying to keep people from catching on. And then you get to the surviving section, and there's not a single mention of anybody in the Riley family. She talks about her first husband, but not of her second one, nor the adopted child she had.
On the adopted document is freaking creepy enough. You know, that's all right.
Raised. Because her first husband is listed as deceased. They got married the year after they left high school. So who raised their children? Because I sure as fuck hope that they weren't living with this woman. A woman who kept the last name Riley up until her death. I don't know, there's just something off about it. Now, I personally suspect that they were using false identities. Because in her background check, I found a nurse's license. Yeah. She was a nurse. A nursing license she didn't get until 1995 under the name Mary Joan Riley in the state of Indiana, of which she has no record of living there. And in the same background check, all of this I found in the same place. I found her under Marie.
How does she have no record of living there? But there's Trump Drive right here, so they had to have lived there. And then she contradicted herself right there a little bit about that, but
Riley, and she lived on Trump Drive in Indiana. And when I looked up the address, it was in a trailer park, and I looked up the whole trailer park that it's in, and guys,
that should be really close to here. Let's see how far we are. Directions to Trump Drive in Indianapolis, Indiana. 40 minutes away. So, because that's the east side of Indianapolis, I'm southeast Indianapolis. That's over in Lawrence. Holy shit. I used to live over there. Yeah. I used to live right by there. That's kind of the hood. It's bad area. Very bad area. That's a pretty nice trailer park, though, for that area, because, well, they have some nice houses, like, Jim's mom lives in Lawrence, or did, and it's just basically Indianapolis. It's just like a area of Indianapolis. Well, I guess it is called actually Lawrence, but I think her address had Indianapolis, not Lawrence. But she's right there. That's right where she lives, and I used to live right there too, right at I'm looking at the map. Yeah, I lived there when I was like 30 or something. Qual Creek Mobile Home Park is the name of it. It looks like. Or, yeah, Qual Creek Mobile Home Park. Huh. Trump Drive. Let's see all the other names. Mindy, Travis, Dustin. Wouldn't that be crazy if those were names of all children that, it's some kind of prize of something? That's freaking creepy. Kirk Allen Drive, Jacob Lane. Samantha Drive. Ashley Joe Drive, Tammy Renee Drive, Dustin. Okay, I said that one. Anyways, you guys can't see it, so I'll keep going.
The rest of these streets are like names of people. Kirk, Megan, Ashley Joe, Tammy Renee, Dustin, Mindy, Travis. I mean, the fact that they lived on Trump Drive in a trailer park with Samantha Drive, I fully recognize that it's basically nothing. But Trump likes to put his name on everything. I just hope this isn't like a weird trophy of some kind. I want to bring this back to wife number 3 for a second because Cindy, I have some questions about. Because I had this weird feeling that William K. Riley was the kind of guy who would put things in his spouse's name to cover up his involvement. And one of the properties that was listed under her and William had been previously owned by the Deutsche Bank. Yes, that Dutch bank. The Dutch bank that Epstein talked about all the time being Trump's downfall. The same bank that was sued by Epstein's victims for $75 million. The same bank that was subpoenaed by the Manhattan DA. The one that Trump sued to block the release of. The one that was fined $150 million for working with Epstein. Now what would a little single family residence in Georgia be doing owned by a trust from the Dutch bank? A trust that was out of Richmond, Virginia. Now silly me, I was so flabbergasted with that discovery that I forgot to take a screen grab of the address that was associated with. So today when I went to go find the address again, I went to Cindy's profile and this happened. That's not the only weird thing about these properties because I just chose a property at random. When I say that there was probably about 15 addresses listed for these people, I'm not exaggerating. And a lot of sketchy P.O. boxes. But this property in Georgia was sold to an Anthony and Cheryl Cisco. Now according to his own website, he's an author, a cartoonist, an evangelist, an entrepreneur, a husband and father. But then I saw him mention on the website that his ministry stretched from Alabama to Boston to Atlanta. But if you go to his LinkedIn, he's actually the director of strategic recruiting at a cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, cloud, whatever business with over 20 years of experience in the recruiting industry. Oh, and let's not forget all of his experience at Harvard Business School. But then I looked at his wife's page. She goes from a bank teller in Florida to an export coordinator in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe to an adoption
Well, yeah,
service.
this is so much reminding me of like how Ryan goes from like this profession to that profession to this profession. He's been everything. I don't know. Just side note.
Then owned a family wedding business, then spent 6 more years as an export coordinator. Again, this could be nothing, but in 1996 they had a business attached to it called Choice Care Inc. And this is what came up. And this is on the official Georgia Health site. 2017, this property was sold to Southern Crescent SA Child and Advocacy Center, Inc. is solely owned by Republican Georgia State Representative Karen Mathiak, who mentions this nowhere on any of her political websites. Originally formed in 2000, whose address prior to this was this random warehouse, William and Lynn Riley owned that property from 1995 to 2003 when they sold it to the Ciscos. Then the Ciscos sold it in 2010 to something called IndyMac. And I was just curious where that was going to lead me because IndyMac was a mortgage loan and trust bank that failed in 2008. It collapsed. So I'm curious how they were able to sell it in July of 2010. By the way, in 2008, just before the collapse, the Center for Responsible Lending, a Washington think tank, released a report compiling all of the lawsuits against the Indy Bank by customers and former employees who said that their managers and supervisors pressured them into approving loans or they would risk being fired. Only reason to do that is if there's shady stuff going on. Now I need y'all to buckle the F up for this next part. Remember how we talked about Samantha and how they used to record CP? Now Samantha was tortured by both of the parents and they mentioned that it was in a duplex in Enterprise, Alabama. Yes, there is an address literally in Enterprise, Alabama that is associated with William Riley. Here's the thing, I tried to type in this address. Nothing comes up because Gilbert Street is only these 2 blocks. I will say I found a house that does look like it is a former converted duplex. It's just weird that there's 2 doors and no pathway for either of them. So why is the address wrong? And I thought, well, maybe it's one of those things that was just wrote down wrong somewhere, or it's been almost 40 years. Maybe there was development on the side of the street. But then I looked at this pin. That pin location shows Glover Street, not Gilbert. And they aren't far from each other, but not so close that it would be an honest mistake by the computer. So on a whim, I decided to type in the same address, just replacing it with Glover Street. And guess whose address that goes to? Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry. What? That can't, Maybe it's just another one of those weird things I'm finding on this path. But I'm going to touch on just one more thing before I go. So when I was running Mary Lynn's background, I ran into something that I've never run into before, ever. In all of my background checks I've ever run, I ran into the most amount of email addresses associated with a name that I have ever experienced in my entire life. We're talking about .org, we've got small businesses, big businesses, and all of these are some reason registered to Mary Lynn. I've never encountered this many before, guys. I run into maybe 10, 15 tops, and a lot of them are the same names over and over again with different organizations. Like, it's still going. And the names associated with those names are legit, it seems. Like, it's almost overwhelming for me to try and research all those. But so many of them are James Young or Jim Young. Like 30 of them. Like these two, they're both that guy's business. I mean, she's got business emails from Profoma. This one right here, JJ Young from City of Key West, Florida.gov. He was literally arrested this year because somebody tapped into a Zoom video interview to disclose their contents. Like, they hacked into somebody's Zoom. And Jim Young was charged with tampering with physical evidence. Why does he have a government email? Well, because he's the city's code and ordinance inspector. So he's the guy who knows where all the abandoned and shuttered buildings are. Oh, and one of those emails? Yeah, J. Young Films. Like I said, I haven't found a single thing to discredit Sasha Riley's story. Sasha Riley has posted their adoption papers, and from it, I have been able to find some of the most damning evidence of a trafficking ring.
This one right here is the one that I like, or that I wanted you guys to watch, because this is where it kind of ties into some people that you've heard before.
As always, everything is alleged and my own opinions, but I'm going to just show you the evidence that I have found along the way. Sasha Riley's adoption was finalized in 1978, claiming that they were adopted out of Germany, which doesn't make sense because Sasha said themselves they just recently identified who their birth parents were, and they both live in Oklahoma. The attorney representing the Rileys on this adoption form is Ben Wexler. I wanted to point out the star that Ben signs their name with, by the way, because when I saw that, I was like, well, that seems kind of unprofessional.
I don't know about it being a star. Like, I don't think I agree with her there. I mean, I see what she's saying, but his middle name is a K, so I mean, maybe he is trying to make it a star because she finds out he's associated with some kind of Mason or some masonry. I don't know. But I do want to look into this, who this attorney is and his ties.
Professional, not to mention a little girly for the 70s. Now, as you can see, these adoption papers are out of Greene County, Tennessee. Using that information, I was easily able to identify the attorney as Benjamin King Wexler. So yes, I guess that star could be interpreted as a K, but I don't think it is, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Ben Wexler had a very extensive career. He was the assistant district attorney from 1969 till 1976. He then became a Greenville City judge, and while simultaneously
Washington County. So we're, Washington County, Tennessee. Okay. Son of the late Henry Beck and something Lita Lee King Wexler. He attended Boones Creek High School in Washington County. He entered the United States Air. So he was in the military. And then he was assigned to the 8th Air Force that was located in England. He was a crew member on a B-17 Flying Fortress and flew 17 combat bombing missions. Okay. Entered East Tennessee State College in 1946, graduated 49. Free Service Tire in Johnson City.
Was the Greene County attorney from 1978 to 1986. And if you look at these years, you'll notice that there is some weird overlap here. He was ADA while at the same time being a city judge, and then while being a city judge, he was also the Greene County attorney. And for right now, I just want to point out that he was also on a board of trustees for the Holston United Methodist Home for Children. But Ben isn't the only Wexler on this paper, because right there is Gina Wexler, who seemingly worked in the records department in 2008 when apparently Sasha got a copy of them. Gina Sanslow Wexler is indeed his daughter-in-law. And maybe that means nothing. The county was only about 50,000 people population, so maybe it's just a coincidence. But then I looked at Kay Armstrong, who was the clerk and master of the records. But in this article talking about her retirement in 2023, I've noticed something a little weird.
I've shared that article. I mean, I don't know how many times I've looked at that same picture.
Turns out her maiden name is Kay Solomon Armstrong. So maybe one of my eagle-eyed viewers noticed that the woman who originally filed this adoption paperwork is Polly Solomon, who was not only Kay Armstrong's mother, but was the wife of the sheriff of Greene County, who served as clerk and master until he died, and she was appointed the
wife of who? What was his name?
new clerk and master 8 days after his death. Until 1992, when her daughter was appointed the position by Judge Dennis Inman. And thank goodness these people were pretty chatty in their obituaries, because I learned a lot about Polly. Like how her daughter married Dan Armstrong, who was the attorney general for the district.
Dan Armstrong is directly tied to this Sasha Riley freaking situation. That's insane. Dan Armstrong and his wife, the same freaking district attorney. You're seeing double, guys. You're seeing double. Over Brianna Lawson. This is freaking pretty big, in my opinion. And the same district attorney that's going to be over Summer Wells' case. Mind blown.
On the night of June 15th, District Attorney General Dan Armstrong called in the TBI to help with the search for Summer Wells in the Beech Creek community. Now, as the 10-month mark is approaching, his role is looking ahead to the possibility of charges.
It's a case that has implications of the legal system and the law, but you couldn't classify it right now as there's no criminal charges been filed.
Summer's older brothers were put into CPS custody last July, but no charges have been filed over their removal. However, their father, Don Wells, is serving time in the Hawkins County Jail over DUI and violation of probation charges.
This is a very complicated issue that has been made more complicated by the players in this drama.
Solomon's Temple, yep, there's a Solomon's Temple. Solomon's definitely I know he does. He looks, I mean, I don't want to be mean. I'm trying not to. But
it has been made more complicated.
Like, I started looking into this dude and other people. Like, he was the one that was over. I mean, I'm sure he plays it in this somewhere. Or maybe he doesn't. Oh, who is that dude right there? I've seen that too. So
we need to pull up sometime, see what attorney and judge owned that 207 piece of property before Mom bought it from Greene County.
Oh, I can do. I mean, is it Greene County?
He was from Greene County.
Oh, but I could pull up the 207 property on the tax assessor website.
He bought it to auction, and a judge or an attorney or something from Greene County owned it at the time.
Hawkins County tax assessor website. So it's pretty easy to look up. I could probably find it real quick. I think it was here, I'll keep playing this while I try to find that.
Complicated by the players in this drama.
No one has been arrested or charged in relation to the little girl's disappearance, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen at some point.
We make ourselves available to both the Sheriff's Office and the TBI to advise them as to the consequences of the next step that they're proposing to take and how we can do it to where if there is eventually a prosecution, it'll be what they gather will be something that would be that we can introduce in a court. Make sure we cover all those bases.
If an arrest ever does take place, that's when Armstrong will look at what charges can be filed.
If it ever got to the point where we were ready to consider charges, then of course they would talk to me about what charges and who to charge. And a case like this would generally go to a grand jury if it ever got to that point.
Armstrong declined to comment about Don Wells' current legal troubles. Even though he stays in touch with law enforcement about where they're at in this investigation, he's almost at a standstill in his particular role.
I learned a lot about Polly, like how her daughter married Dan Armstrong, who was the attorney general for the district, but she was apparently a member of something called the Order of the Eastern Star. Which is an organization dating back hundreds of years that is a companion to Freemasonry.
No, the only other person that's on this tax, the parcel details, is it shows your mom, and it shows the, Sam Stedman as the proper or as a subdivision, but
Sam owned it, then sold it to Marvin, and then Marvin had that.
if I knew the name of the, okay, so who had it? Okay. So there was a Alvin Baxley. Oh no, that says Summit Hill Road. Okay, no, I don't know how to find it, guys. Do you guys know how to find the previous owners of 207 Ben Hill Road? Because there was a judge that owned that at one point.
Stedman owned it since probably the 30s or something, up until he sold it to Marvin, probably in the 2000s.
And then in the 2000s, was it Marvin who
Marvin
put it up for
collateral on.
And that was before you even knew who Marvin was, right?
Huh?
That was before you knew who Marvin was. Yeah, Marvin Simpson actually used to own 207 at one time. A judge also owned it and sold it to your mom, right?
Marvin sold it to Mom.
No, a judge sold it to your mom.
Yeah, they put it up for auction, and Mom bought it through an auction. Well, she bought it.
Can somebody, I don't know, does anybody know how to look into that? Like, auction 207 Ben Hill Road, and I don't know. Just curious.
Masonry. No, I've never gone down the Freemasonry rabbit hole, but I do know one thing, that survivors have come forward publicly and alleged that multi-generational Freemasonic cults are involved in ritual abuse and trafficking.
They join the Masonic Lodge, they send referrals to one another, you know, a good old boys network. So that's why a lot of people join the lodge. Many people join it because they had an uncle or a father or a brother who was in it. And honestly, unless you really understand the occult, it's boring. But what none of these men understand, I don't think, is that deep down inside there's this very dark, evil energy, which is very sexualized. We document in the book how many men that come to us over the years for deliverance, they were in Masonry and they began to be drawn into wickedness, into perversion, and even into pedophilia. And it's dark, dangerous stuff because it opens up unholy desires within the men. And then, because of the way the spiritual world works, that in turn percolates down into their family. And it affects the wife, who may or may not be involved, because there's a women's order of Masonry called the Order of the Eastern Star, whose symbol is a satanic pentagram, by the way. So anyway, it affects your children. So many men that were Masons, at first it didn't be a problem, but when their children started hitting puberty, they just started to go in various ways nuts. People understood, you know, they'd see us out in the backyard in the moonlight in black robes dancing around, you know, He was the head of the Philosophical Research Society. He was a very high-level ceremonial magician, and he was also a 33rd degree Mason. He told me, he took me aside, and he said, you know, if you really want to understand magic, you need to read this book. And he handed me the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. And I said, well, why would I want to read?
So Douglas Jenkins, When Evil Entered. Yeah, I should have texted you. Does that? I know Fred's probably listening. Fred, does that sound familiar? Douglas Jenkins, Judge Jenkins. That kind of sounds familiar, I think. Mimi Jean, Mimi of 6. Here comes Fred.
That's him.
That's him. There you go. See, you guys should all listen to When Evil Entered and go watch her channel and subscribe because she knows what she's talking about. She solved the mystery. So yeah, there was a judge. We were just curious because of the judges coming up in this.
Read the Satanic Bible. Witches don't believe in Satan. And he said, well, just read the book. And his, LaVey's contention.
The way this guy is talking is like these normal men go into these, become members of these Masonic temples, and then it's like the deeper they get, the darker it gets, and it's almost like he's saying these normal men that didn't have these sick thoughts like start turning sick. Dude, that is scary if that's true. Like, I don't know. It would seem like that kind of stuff would be deeply ingrained in you and you're kind of like, since childhood. I don't think somebody can turn into I'm just going to say it, pedo from, I don't know. Like, I suppose if you're like, I don't know. I don't even like thinking of it sick. I suppose if you just keep getting involved in dark and dark and just keep surrounding yourself with that, then maybe, I don't know, maybe that's how it works. Yeah, and you're right. There is low level, like people, like the low level people, some of them aren't even aware of the stuff that goes on in the higher tier of masonry. Like, well, according to people like this guy, because I've seen this guy before. Just like there's always like, it's not everybody in the Masons that are, doing this stuff.
Was that magic is really about Satan. But Satan is like an archetype, he said. There is no real Satan, but it's like an energy, egregore, an archetype that you can draw upon. And it kind of made sense to me. And I just scoffed at it. And literally, within 24 hours, it was like I was hit with a freight train. I lost all my occult power, and believe the magical power is real.
Weirdly, in Polly's obituary, it literally says that she possessed the ability to reach across Greene County to people that could help meet the needs of others in various sections of our county. All Polly had to do was pick up the phone and call someone in the community or in government, and the needs were met. She, with her husband, took the position of public service many steps further in caring for people, especially.
I just don't think nobody should have that much power that they could just pick up a phone and needs are met. These people, I agree with something that Don B said in his video. There needs to be a term that there needs to be a set amount of term that you can be in these positions. Like as far as like sheriff and stuff, you should not be able to stay. I just don't, I think it should be like the president, on a max set of terms you can be. I want to say an office, but you know what I mean. There are a lot of Masonic lodges in the area, and some are like connected Lone Star lodges, trying to look at pictures of members in them. I used to look I was like there for a long time, I was really looking into the, like, people, like the Masonic lodges around that area. And I guess there is one in, like, Kingsport. I think, yeah, and I think even Rogersville. Watson's a Freemason. Hey, yeah, I see you, Snow Angel. I know, I can't believe it either, but Carter, it's really gets me upset because, especially in my situation, like, do you think I want to freaking deal with these people, like, using my husband for clicks and views and, you know, making up lies about him the rest of our lives, you know, and painting this picture of him, of this person that he's totally not? Like, yeah, it's really disheartening to think that this can go on forever and ever. So, yeah. There's nobody more who wants to stand to me, because trust and believe that. Only there, I can't. There's so many, and Fred, probably Fred, I guess. Would want this to end more. There's nobody else that wants it to end. The parents don't want it to end because then the truth would come out. These other certain YouTubers don't want it to end because they want to continue to make up lies and make up, you know, put out confusion. And certain ones, I don't know their freaking agenda. I don't know how deep this shit goes. If it goes all the way to this, then there probably really is people in this community being paid to freaking cause confusion, you know, and cause bullshit. They show themselves through hand gestures. Hey, Gina.
Especially children and children of the incarcerated, and meeting the needs of many who were inmates. Holly was an advisor to many political leaders in the East Tennessee area. Guys, I'm just getting started, so stick with me here. Now, the one signature on this that is the most important and arguably the only one we can't read is the chancellor who signed the adoption papers. Now, me personally, I think it looks most like Dennis Inman, but there's a catch there. You see, at one point, Kay Armstrong sued the mayor of Greenville, and we are going to revisit this lawsuit in a minute, but in that lawsuit, there's the testimony of Judge Inman, who says that he only served as chancellor from the district from 1984 to 1985. So it couldn't have been him. And it was nearly impossible for me to track down any chancellors in 1978 because
how did he sign this document if he'd only been a chancellor between 84 and 85? Is it his father or something? Because you know how there's so many relatives? Is there another chancellor, like, in his family? Was there one in 78? That's crazy, because that definitely says Inman.
The whole district was going through like a redistricting process, and there was turning over of a bunch of judges. And as it turns out, in these smaller...
I've already seen this, like, this part of it, because I've seen this woman's TikToks. But I'm just, you know, there's certain things that I'm noticing now. Like, if he was a chancellor in only in 84 to 85, then in this document was in 78, then how could that be him that signed that? So that's 6 years between when he was a chancellor. I mean, it could totally be a father. You know, his father could have... I mean, you know how everything is in that area. Everybody's freaking related.
Districts, often a judge presides over both chancery and circuit courts. Unfortunately, I'm unable to go to Greenville and access these court records, so the most likely candidate is Judge Thomas Hull, who was often cited as the circuit judge and the chancery in that district around that era. Now, it just so happens that Thomas Hull was not only a member of the Tennessee House of Representatives, but from 1979 to 1981, he was the legal counsel for Governor Lamar Alexander. father, who was not only the governor of Tennessee, not only a U.S. senator for 18 years, but was the Secretary of Education under George H.W. Bush. He wasn't just his legal counsel, he was his longtime friend because Lamar showed up at the funeral. Hull was also the one who recommended Dennis Inman as the circuit judge to Alexander. No matter how you interpret it, it's shady. And Judge Hull was apparently very active in helping the Holston United Methodist Home for Children. Yes, the same one that Ben Wexler was on the board of trustees of. And perhaps some of y'all picked up on it, but look at the maiden name of Ben's wife. Yeah, he had a nephew, Brandon Hull, who was the CEO of the Greenville banks that were owned by his father, Judge Thomas Hull. Yeah, so Thomas Hull was related.
Everybody's like, I mean, everybody's related. I mean, that's how you get these positions there. They really need everything to just be like a whole freaking revamp of the freaking law enforcement departments in all those areas. And Hopkins and Washington, Sullivan, Green. For sure. Obviously, the same, Johnson City is Washington, I think, right? I think I already said that. Whichever one Johnson City's in, too. It's not Johnson County. I thought for the longest time it was Johnson County, and it's not. How do these people live with themselves, just all doing illegal things left and right, participating in SA and unliving all of innocence? I'll never understand demons, all of them. Yep. And isn't it weird, so this lady at the beginning, once again, was saying something about how they call the children like animals, and she was saying particularly dogs. They were like German, what'd she say? German Shepherd, Golden Retriever, or something like that. That's how they nickname the children. Isn't it odd how Andy has, I have to say this again, because to me this is freaking big. Or weird. Just something to take note. I mean, maybe, I guess, whatever. It could be nothing. I mean, just to take note. He wears a dog necklace, okay? I've always noticed, I know he made a post before showing his necklaces and stuff because I had pointed them out. They just look freaking, I don't know. It was odd because Jody Sue says the dogs are, what'd she say? Dogs are the answer to this case or something. I don't know, guys. Why can't she just talk in plain English, please? And just tell us what she's trying to get at? And instead of making us guess at shit.
Wexler. He was married to Thomas Hull's sister. But you know what? None of this means anything. None of this is concrete proof of anything. It could just be a coincidence that they're all related. Never mind, let me cook. Because we're going to bring it back to Sasha Riley's father, William Riley. Because William Riley is associated with an address in Greenville, Tennessee.
Let me cook. Let me cook.
But I could only find the earliest record for this residence as 2006. So we don't know if they owned the house, they just lived in that house. We don't know what it is. What we do know is the earliest owners I could find was Stanley.
So she found the address of their house. Okay. 2006. Bethany B. Thomas. Stanley Horde, Kathleen Horde.
We find the earliest record for this residence as 2006, but we don't know if they owned the
Franklin Street, Greenville, Tennessee.
house. They just lived in that house. We don't know what it is. What we do know is the earliest owners I could find was Stanley and Kathleen Horde. And it turns out Kathy Horde was the vice president of human resources at Holston United Methodist Home for Children. Y'all remember how I said it was weird that Bill Riley's LinkedIn had him listed as human resources for Troy University? Not only do they have a creepy ass prayer page, but there are also horses and barns involved in this home for children. Not Does that line up with some of the shit that Sasha was saying? But who was it that had a thing for horses? Oh yeah, Jelaine Maxwell. I also found this business called Horde Russell Alliance associated with the address. Well, surprise, surprise, no such business I could find. But what it did lead me to was a Russell Wexler, Benjamin Wexler's son, who was briefly mentioned in the lawsuit from Kay Armstrong to that mayor, where we find out that Russell Wexler was apparently working with Polly Solomon in the court office, where he handled conservationships and guardianships, which after his death was handed over to Ms. Gina Wexler. So now they clarify that whatever Gina Wexler's title is for the county, she handled investments, she was the bookkeeper for the county, and was in charge of all of the children that were in conservationships and guardianships. And as it turns out, Russell Wexler not only worked at the Chancery Court for 25 years, but he also served on the board at ComCare Inc., a place where both of his brothers reside. Turns out that ComCare is a home for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. By the way, that home for children, it seems like they are no longer doing adoptions. And in fact, we're
Texas, Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Indiana, Oregon, Washington. So Texas, Ohio. Texas is where, okay, Ohio definitely came up. Kentucky, not Michigan. Indiana, definitely. I don't know.
Enough, they put up a list of Philippine adoption agencies in like a bunch of different states, which has me very confused and grossed out. Like I recommend just going and looking around, because there's just, it's weird because this place seems more like a country club than a children's home. And I also looked at it on the map, and I noticed that there's a lot of open space, sure, for horses and stuff, but then there's this whole big other chunk over here with what looks to be like a string of barns and a lake. I don't know what I found. I don't know. It just feels like something
That happened all that often, you know, like good day around like the federal holidays and stuff like that, Labor Day, you know, July, where you typically would think of as a 4-day weekend.
Okay, yeah, dogs are key, according to Jody Sue.
The day after someone...
Yeah. Talking about him being in prison and all that shit. I thought them boys, that's just something. Who does that? You know, got a kid missing. Why the hell would you?
A 4-day weekend.
Hey, Don come up there before it's got me in there for all that stuff happening. Talking about president shit.
He came up there the night that all that stuff happened, like after Summer went missing, talking about the president.
The day after Summer...
Yeah. Talking about him being in prison and all that.
Talking about him being in prison and all that shit.
I thought them boys, that's just something. Who does that? You know, got a kid missing. Why the hell would you be going to talk about stuff like that?
The day next...
He said, Fred said, who does that? Why the hell would you want to talk about stuff like that? And then, you know, when you've got a kid missing.
His favorite, his hero is Donald Trump. So.
We got all about it.
The last reported sighting of Summer Wells was in
June. Was Donald Trump.
June of 2021 from her home on Ben Hill Road. Today, she would be almost 9 years old. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation confirms last week agents were working with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI, following up on a lead in Greenville.
That on separate occasions, Don Wells and Jody Sue's boyfriend, Andrew Bernard, would run off at night and be gone 3 to 4 days. According to Jody Sue, Don Wells would put his vehicle in neutral and sneak off the property and go to Knoxville. Check it out.
He would just sneak off in the night, and I'd know by the next morning. Candace would be like, hey, did you hear Don? I'm like, yep. And we'd know that he would be gone. You know, it's just like Monster. He had his patterns, too. And so in that way, we knew when each were doing.
Monster had his patterns, too. She's talking about Knoxville. And they're talking about putting the cars in neutral to try to sneak away, not to be able to be heard.
Their runoffs or whatever it was, you know, but yeah. But they were pretty open about it. Plus, everybody around the area knew.
I'm telling you, and you know it. No, look at you being an abuser. Look at you being an abuser. Bitch, I ain't Candace. I ain't Candace, and I ain't some little girl going, stop, daddy. Stop, daddy. Stop, daddy. Right?
I can't
Right?
talk this dumb bitch.
Yeah, because you can't talk all over me. Because you can't fucking abuse me. And because you're a goddamn liar.
You're a fucking lying bitch.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah,
sick.
right.
Dawn sounds kind of freaking.
Everybody's lying. I guess including the bruises on your kids too, Dawn. Right? The traffic. I ain't on drugs, bitch. I passed my screens for DCS. How about you and Candace, motherfucker?
That sounds so much like the fucking creators on this app who say the same type thing. They're so much like Dawn Wells, like, get off drugs while he's sitting there hitting crack pipe.
Fucker.
You're the liar.
Right.
You're a liar. A similar thing. Projection.
I got proof of my shit.
You ain't got no proof. You got no proof.
Right,
Don't
I got
tell it
proof.
to fucking TBI or somebody.
Oh, I have,
Don't
Dawn.
listen to your dumb ass either. Get the fuck out of here.
Right, I ain't getting the fuck out anywhere because I ain't Candace and I ain't a little girl and I ain't boys you fucking abused, motherfucker. And you ain't Andy and you ain't the unicorn in the world. You don't bother me. What I'm telling you is the only traffic was at your house. Tell him about your ties to Fred, Dawn. Tell him about your Knoxville runs that supplied fucking Ben Hill, Dawn.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, Knoxville trip, Knoxville trip, Knoxville trip. Bring the dope back, have more money. Take your kid with you to the Knoxville trips over the weekend. Trap him in the car while you bang prostitutes and bring the dope back to the fucking hollow and disperse it. Go ahead, Dawn.
So Jody Sue, you know a lot about that.
Keep lying, bro.
That's exactly what that woman told me on that phone call I had years ago.
Find proof on all that and then go call.
Oh, I do. Because
Well, I mean, you don't have to be in trouble to get I mean, just like the thing. Okay, for instance, like the people that call CPS on here for me, like, you know, they'll try to say like I'm on drugs or whatever. I brought it up in my instance, but they'll give you or ask you to take a drug screen for just, you know, an accusation. So it really doesn't mean much if CPS asks you to take a drug screen. I mean, you should have no problem doing it if you have nothing to hide, but it doesn't mean you have a case or anything like that.
because your stupid life over the years, Dawn. Or you not?
I don't know how to explain it.
Get receipts. And,
Oh yeah, I got them.
The initial process to see if they need to open a case. You know what I mean? I've never had one opened on me, but there's always the initial like coming over here because of fucking stupid people.
Please do it. Go do it.
They've already been turned
Don't sit
in,
there and
Dawn.
talk.
He's never named his own traffic and dealers from Knoxville. He's never named them from the other states. He comes in and out with dope. He's never named that he's the one that comes in with mass before he leaves with zero and comes back with all kinds of money. Or you all think they're poor, dude. They had money out the ass. They just chose not to buy things or do things, okay? Going, though, keep the money controlling the household.
What you're seeing here is it's communications from Jody to someone else, right? Now, in this, it says Andy was locked up with a few years ago. Anyway, he came in for tires today. He recognized Andy, chatted, etc. Right? Andy says he was a bit funny acting though, etc. Anyway, at the end, he asked Andy to come to the van. Now,
Here you go, guys. Here's the van story. But Benny's too focused on fucking Fred.
Maybe Andy didn't work on the van, someone else did, and that another technician worked the tire, and then he saw Andy and he invited Andy over, and so Andy never actually had any contact with that van
Mechanic work.
up
He just
until the
did
point
tires.
that Stone was asked
Right?
to Andy Bernard on over to look at the van. He mumbled something about girls, then opened the door and told Andy to look. There were girls in the van,
Obviously being
prostituted and scared to fucking death.
This is a call for the Lady of the Night call. Oh, here we go. See how long it's
weird how much like
I don't know how he finds this stuff, guys, because I wish I would have like labeled my stuff better. There's so many like I mean, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, though, but there's so many things on my channel, and even, yeah, like me and Tiffany were just talking about this on her channel, too, like, little treasures, you know, mixed in, but good luck finding them. You know what I mean? I wish I would have labeled things better. I wish I would have did little shorts of certain things that were important that happened during streams, but I never had done that kind of wish you could understand the riddles. I know that's what I was talking about earlier. Why does there have to be riddles, and why can't she just like tell us?
Knoxville has. Well, Andy didn't mention it. Actually, Freddie Hill mentioned it to me about Andy. How Andy. Well, I called her today, and she said that when Don came down there, he was done there regularly every 2 or 3 weeks. He laid a trip down there to where she was at. It's like a hotel type deal. Yeah. It was like a hotel from the outside anyways, and in the back it was another deal. Like in the back, maybe it was like a bar or something, or what? No, it was like a prostitute, drug. I mean, they drugs back there, they crack back there, they did all kinds of things back there. And the guy behind was named Playboy. Oh, like Playboy. Oh, yeah. So like Pimp, or the guy that. Right, he was like that. He was like the boss of the whole ring down there. Apparently, he knows him from prison. He knows Playboy from prison. Right. Don does? Yes, that's how he knows him to start with. I wonder what prison. I don't know. And Don was the one that gave her a ride to get away from there? Yeah, he just picked the ball over apparently. And when he came out, I guess he'd come in there and he'd buy a lot of drugs, then leave. And he said, you were at a party, and she was sitting there, and she
That sounds a lot, very, very, the same thing that we've heard from Jody Sue. So, you know, what sounds, a lot of people, it's not just, we've heard it scattered throughout over the years about these Knoxville trips. So it comes from different people. There's a lot of red flags about that. Right, 120. But that's part of the whole agenda to cause confusion and, lies in this case, in the community, just to get view through. I don't know I don't know. I don't understand it. I've tried to make sense of it for so long on why people don't seem to want to, come together. They'd rather just make up bullshit and crazy freaking out there stories. It's so and it's so disheartening, guys, because we've put so much time into this case, into just spent so much time and energy on it, and for people to intentionally come on here and just make a fool of it and not really care at all the type of stuff they put out, and the things they say, for whatever agenda. It's quite disgusting. It really is.
Yeah, but she grabbed the backpack. So he came there with 3,000 owing, or with the money. Well, more than 3,000, and then he still owed 3,000 when he left. Trying to turn around and bring her back to Playboy. Yeah. Period. Wow. This guy he's nothing to deal with. He's
right around these calls, I think that I'm trying to think when it was that Don stopped talking to me. Because I have those phone calls with Don, you know, very early on. I think it was when I went and had first talked to Fred. He'll talk to Fred. Like, he just won't talk to me. I've tried to convince Fred to call him and see if he'll answer. I mean, I say that he'll talk to Fred, but I don't know for sure because Fred's never tried to actually reach back out to him. Don's the one that's tried to reach out to Fred. But yeah, Fred doesn't want anything to do with the guy, but I think it, you know, kind of. I wish that he wouldn't have missed that call right after this recent search. Because I'm just curious what he was thinking when that church. I wish I would have heard what he was thinking just days after our search, and why would he call Fred, you know? Because it's Fred's, like, uncle or something? I mean, he obviously talks to Fred's sister. Why doesn't he call her? That's it, her uncle too, or Andy Bernard. I mean, he'd call him and talk about it. That's also Andy's uncle. So Andy's cousin or uncle. It could be his great uncle. I'm trying to think. But anyways, Paulie, his mom is Paul's sister, right, Fred? Is Paulie's mom? Huh? I know he's your dad's brother. But I'm talking about Andy's mom. Okay, so the Theta, or what's her name again? What's her name again?
Anna Smith. Anna Fleta Smith.
Anna Fleta Smith. Anna Smith is Paul Hill's sister. Anna Fleta Smith. So she would have been Anna Hill, right?
She was a Hill before Smith. That's her maiden name.
So, but you know, Fred and Andy are only like 4 years age in difference. So it's weird. You would think that they. Yeah.
Because me and Polly would be first cousins.
It's just weird because Polly is like so much older than you know what I mean? Like my cousins are my age. Like my first cousins are all my age. Cute. Girl. Are you gonna put some lashes on with those wings? So you can fly away? Yeah. You should put on some mascara too, though.
He's dangerous. Wow. So how was he supposed to go back to that motel again if he never brought her back? That's what I said.
We've always like been prepared that it's, you know, one of Fred's relatives could definitely be involved in this, you know. I mean, we've always wondered about like why Andy was on the road. I'm completely ready to accept it was something like completely different. It's gonna, well, I don't know if I'm ready to accept it, dude. If I find out it was him just like on some kind of drug run that he's been hiding, I'm going to lose my mind. Because everybody is like putting everybody's priorities in this situation are so fucked up. It's insane, dude. Fred's the only one around the situation that I've seen have the right priorities when it comes to Summer Wells. When I'm talking about the people around the area, and I don't care what people say. Didn't go there with Don or Playboy, says Amy.
Just this past Christmas?
Poor Tiffany. That was back in the... Poor Tiffany. There's anti-TM. Aw.
He said, well, Playboy will probably be mad because of this. If he comes out, I'll take you out of there. Just this past Christmas? Yes. Did she know about missing summer? Or
So this
summer
past Christmas would have been Christmas of 2021.
Anything about none of that? Wow, so she saw him after Summer went missing. Yeah. But he never mentioned anything about none of that. Oh my gosh.
While I was there to be a service to Don and his family, Don thought it would be better to run off and smoke crack the whole time I was gone. There's even an informational missing persons report made on him so that it didn't go over the air and YouTube grab a hold to it. Then I left, came home, and on the 22nd, this fool ran off again and was gone. He spent Christmas out there smoking crack, running around with hookers and shit. Coming back with lipstick and panties in the car and shit. Coming home cracked out of his fucking mind.
He said he had to sacrifice her.
Well, Benny had told me on the phone that he had a bunch of freaking crack on him, but he says that that's not correct. So I don't know what you want to believe. Either way, this whole thing did happen as far as him being on a crack run. That's for sure. Or a crack binge, I guess. Why does Tim take up for Don and he knows what he does? Did you guys see this whole thing about him buying some kind of, like, I don't know what it was. It said Summer Moon, Utah Wells, and had her on this NASA website thing. So, okay, this is a Marlena Crawford. I just want to say something too. I haven't seen it. I haven't been going to anybody's videos on YouTube because there's nothing, like, I'm not going to confuse myself with a bunch of bullshit. But Fred watches this stuff still. And Dee's True Crime, I think it was, had made a post of a picture of a girl, like, with a baby. It looked like she was holding a baby or something. I don't know. I saw it from screenshot on Fred's phone. Like, it wasn't the best picture at all, but that looked like, according to Fred, Marlena Crawford when she was younger.
Sins. I'm guessing that he had to kill her or they had to kill her. I don't know, but then again, there it comes back that, you know, he was a dope head, he was a cocaine addict, and he was a meth addict.
Rick Crawford, her father, told Fred the same thing that Marlena Crawford's saying. So, at least, as far as, like, Rick Crawford saying they sacrificed Summer for the sins they had committed, he told Fred a similar thing.
He was a drunk. I mean, he was violent. And then, like I said, in May, when I went over there, I asked her if he had been out on one of his binges, and she said, no, not yet, but I feel like it's coming. He left the same damn night and never came back for a week.
He seems to do that.
If he overhears anybody talking about that drug, it will trigger him enough to start one of these binges. One time, Fry told me the story of one time that Candace, flipped out on him. One of the only times that he's ever spoken to Candace, he had run into her at a store, I think he said possibly DG or something, and she approached him and said, got on him about bringing up something about crack cocaine or something in conversation. It came up somehow. Fred can't remember how it came up because that was not a drug that Fred was into or used, but he must have been telling a story or mentioning something to Dawn. And Dawn, from that, right after that conversation, he took off and went on one of his drug binges, right? Because crack cocaine was mentioned, it triggered him. And Candace gave Fred a hard time about that. And she said that he spent his whole check on it, all their money.
Kind of did that over Christmas too.
He does it a lot. Nobody knows who his dealer is down there, though. But like a lot of people said, you get mixed up in the cartel and owing people a lot of money, they'll make you give up on your kids, or they'll kill your whole family. And where Summer was blonde hair and blue eyes, I wouldn't bet that for a minute. I'm from Beach Creek, and I know for a fact kids don't disappear down there.
This situation with this $50,000 cartel and everything, okay? He was having some affair with Sissy. We all know that by now. And he had actually said this to her, who then got in touch with me and was telling me and the current people supporting him, oh my God, he told me this, da 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 da. And we asked him, did you really say this? And he was like, yeah.
That's not Sissy, for one. That text message is that woman that passed away. Everybody, remember, I can't remember her name. She was only on my channel, but she ended up passing away. She was in really horrible health. Everybody accused her, even myself, of being Prayer Garden until she was on a panel with Prayer Garden at the same time. So this text message right here about the whole $50,000 thing, that was not Prayer Garden, aka Sissy. So she might have asked him if he had this text message or conversation. That might be true, but I can promise you that this is not Prayer Garden right here in this exchange.
I was like, we need to have a phone call. So listen to the words carefully.
It's just a freaking old video I was fucking with. I thought she was really trying to be a friend, and then when I found out she was trying to...
It's not Prayer Garden.
It's just hit me up for information. That's when I made up that ludicrous bullshit. So and I thought it was funny at the time, okay?
Yeah.
But it ain't so funny now or whatever, but it's just, man, I was just fucking with her head.
Okay, now the other thing they think is that's one of the reasons that apparently someone was saying that's why maybe your boys were took, because they were worried the cartel was going to come.
No.
Okay.
I called it.
Your federal government doesn't want you to find these kids, because your federal government, particularly the finders, CIA organization out of Washington, D.C., is the biggest motivating factor for this. Why? For several reasons. Kids are used for body parts, sex slaves. They're used for the satanic ceremonies. And a 10, 11, 12-year-old blue-eyed blonde-haired kid will sell on the auction block outside Las Vegas, outside Toronto, Canada, in a barn in Lincoln, Nebraska, using 3 locations I'm aware of, for $50,000.
Did they accuse me of selling my daughter for gold? You know what I did? FBI.
Thank you. Denise is her name. Fat Snow Angel's correct. It's Denise. Thank you. Poor lady. I missed her phone call. She had called me just like the day before she passed, and she tried to call me, and I missed her call. So, yeah, I always felt bad about that. And she got held there for a while because everybody thought she was prayer guard. I swear, I did too. I was one of those people. I really thought she was prayer garden. Like, I was so sure, dude.
No, I took the TBI. I hope they're listening to this phone call. I went and saw $2,000 on my bank account and went to the hospital and bought $2,000 worth of fucking shit. I fucking give dope away all night for 2 days. They followed me. I had 5 or 6 agents following me for 2 days. And then when I got on the freeway and went home, they was on the freeway with me, and I outrun them all except for one car. One of them
You a bit more careful than that.
They know what
people
I
are
did.
watching it. Yeah, they probably don't care about you using drugs, to be honest. It's probably just watching to see.
They do, but they don't. But I showed them.
They much rather, I don't know. You showed them what, right?
I showed them that I don't need to fucking tell my fucking daughter to buy dope. I got plenty of money.
That doesn't make sense. Your daughter was already gone at that point. So how does that prove to the law enforcement that you don't need to hurt your daughter or sell your daughter for money? That doesn't even make sense, guys. It makes no sense. His thinking in that call, that's Sonia and me. We were on a 3-way call. She was trying to get him off the phone with me. She was very, very protective. Like, I don't know, guys, how I feel about that, because I'm sure she knows how this guy is, but, you know, it is her sibling. So anyways, this was a call all the way back in 2021, and man, was that a crazy night. That phone call, I was on the phone with him for hours, and he was so wasted. He was obviously smoking crack. Yeah, why did he try to sell his son? And that's another thing. Beck, they had to have known the day of about that incident, because Fred, like, they mentioned that to Fred when he went to, like, they already knew, like, he had, well, they felt he had sold Summer, because, and they even mentioned to Fred when they were asking him to record about the fact that, you know, he had mentioned he had done something before, like how to try to sell his son before. This is on the 15th. They hadn't talked to Mary and the stepsisters at that point, so there must be some kind of record somewhere of this. So law enforcement knew A1 day one about the son incident. There has to be some kind of record in the system somewhere. Oh yeah, Sonia's husband is Nara, so that's right. So I guess that would make sense why she would be, like, kind of relaxed on sex offenders. Plus, I'm sure she knows his backstory, you know, the things that he had to go through as a child and stuff. So she's probably sympathetic because of things that happened to him as a child, but that does not excuse your behavior as an adult. You have to recognize when, you know, I don't know, what if you have these type of desires towards children and you recognize it, you need to just, like, best that you go live somewhere where you won't have any access to any children. I mean, I watched this documentary one time about this guy who purposely was living, like, in isolation so that he would not offend. I mean, at least he's trying. You know, so it's deeply ingrained into these people.
money in my bank account.
Why have to stupid? Stop it.
Well, that's what I showed them. They pissed me off.
People piss you off. People out do stupid shit. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I get that, but they was the one talking stupid first.
That's Charlie.
They told me that they.
You know who else has a sex offender living with a certain creator in the community? Look on this day.
I chased my daughter from to a drug dealer.
The one that's making that shit about Fred and making him out to be some kind of pervert. Yeah, that one lives with a sex offender. A really disgusting one too.
Well, I don't know if they really had anybody. They'll lie to you, remember, they'll lie.
That's what they did, and then they called me.
They probably are tracking you. They probably have trackers on every vehicle you
a PR program. So on into 2022, he had a PR program, a social media manager, talked about 7 alibis, preached that Candace had 0 and she's going down. Stick to the script, something about sticking to the script, control Candace as she's going down, maybe purchase more crack for TBI and FBI, not search for Summer. Okay, so that was the plan going on into 22. Stick to the script, control Candace, maybe purchase more crack for TBI. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And not search for Summer, huh?
I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay, but you know what happened after that? They called me into their office in Johnson City, TBI office. They said, don't do that again. I said, cool.
Don't do that again.
We made peace with that day.
You don't do that again.
I said, please don't arrest me. I fucked up. I get that. But damn, y'all pissed me off. We made peace. They told me what they did. I told them what, and they knew already. I had 5 TV.
We made peace. We made peace. They told me that they were following me around and tracking me. You know, the father of a missing child. That's just so horrible. We made peace. They told me that they were following me, tracking me. I told them what I was doing, you know, all was kosher. We made a deal, you know, I won't do it again.
Yeah, TBI agents followed me around there too.
See, when Don and I were in the building, where did is, they put a single line. They pick and put a 4 to 8 piece of plywood up, advertising soap. I mean, whatever you want was like, yeah.
It's just so crazy.
Man, my daughter's probably on that.
It's just so crazy to me that somebody would put up like a sign like that. And to hear you know, from other people that was actually legitimate. It's not just coming from Fred about this sex sign and this whole, you know, selling things. Like, I've tried to reach out to the pastor's brother. They're still alive, but he has a couple brothers that's still alive, and one of them that was very much a part of all that, getting that freaking thing shut down. That's crazy, dude. I mean, that just shows you that Don must have knew that there was some kind of, I mean, how do you get away with such a thing? There must be a lot of perverts around that area if nobody's shutting that shit down. Like, if you feel comfortable enough that you could advertise sex in your front lawn, then there's something going on.
There's the pastor's sons.
Oh, the pastor's sons, that's right. Not his brothers, his sons that are still alive. And one that was really big into helping with that situation.
In the streets right now somewhere. Nobody's listening to me.
Donnie,
I know, right, Mimi Jean?
I know where she's at. She's in a fucking motel room somewhere with some fucking weirdo fucking motherfucker trying to sell her for a little bit of crack cocaine. I know how it works. Somewhere pulled up in a fucking motel room.
Donnie, stop letting your fucking mind go there, okay?
I've already been there. I've seen
Stop it.
I'm just telling you I'm telling you what I've seen with my own eyes.
Well, you guys, how do these people support this guy? I'm sorry. I understand. I mean, it is like, it does mess with you when you meet the guy and he's real nice. It messed with my head too. Really was an eye-opening experience. But we have to look at reality. You've seen red flag after red flag after red flag right in front of our faces.
I believe that you have seen this.
This shows you hiding in plain sight is the best way to hide.
Somebody is probably sexually, maybe beat the fuck out of her. Probably. I've been to some places where there were little kids, where people were trying to sell these little kids. Oh, wow. I've seen a lot of shit.
And she came in and she was crying and she said that
Have you guys seen kids for sale before? Because I know I haven't. He acts like he's seen it. It's just every other day for Mr. Wells. Every day, like every other day, it's like a child being. Every corner he turns. I've never seen that in my life. I have never seen a child being sold. Thank God. First of all, that is something that you may see once in your life, like, happen. It's not an everyday thing. And look, if there's an everyday thing, then you're obviously involved in that shit. Like, let's just say, I mean, I could see maybe somebody who is into drugs or something, and they happen to one time see something crazy when they're, I don't know. I mean, but all the time, he has all these stories of all these times that he sees kids being abused sexually. I know I plead the fifth. I've been at a lot of drug houses, like, back in my 20s. Even in the hood, like, I did not see children even around. Like the drug houses and stuff, like, let's say, like, if somebody did have a kid, like, they would usually try to hide that shit from them. Even in these, like, even people who use drugs, like, they still have, like, a glimmer of, like, some of them do. Oh no, that child advocacy center. The one that, okay, so is that the one that when Evil Enter sent me something interesting about, must be that child advocacy center of Sullivan County. And it used to have, Leslie Earhart used to be on the board. Yeah, she's on there. In 2023, let me see. She also was in 2024. Children's Advocacy Center of Sullivan County Incorporated. Leslie Earhart is a board member of that, who is on the TBI's PR person, isn't she, basically? Is that the right word? Trying to see if I recognize any other names. That's the only names I recognize. There's like 15 members about. She's one of them. Huh.
He had just caught Donnie down on, well, it's famous 25th Street down here in Ogden, you know.
Oh, this is Mary.
And she said he was out there trying to sell little Donnie because he needed drugs. They were broke.
Man, look, like Hart said, we're here to speculate. We're not trying to cause no harm. We're not trying to say, you did this or you did that. Man, but if it stink, it's fucking rotten. I'm tired of playing with y'all. What the hell y'all doing over there and being here? And that whole picture and everything is all some kind of payment. Well, what the fuck Don or y'all got yourselves into too deep.
When you get addicted to drugs, you will sell your whole soul to say hi. Imagine someone taking your daughter hostage, your beautiful daughter that you just got back, and they're playing games with your fucking head.
We all kind of know when things y'all don't, but make certain things a possibility.
We fucking do. If not for those pesky meddling kids. Damn, that's what I do.
Oh gosh, guys. What'd you guys think? I don't know. It's craziness. Every day I'm looking at the arrest and anyways, let me see something real quick. I want to show you guys something real quick before I leave. Also gonna hold on. Okay. Real quick before we go, guys, because I want to share something with you guys real quick. I talked to Tiffany for like 6 hours the other day, like a couple days ago, and I had learned, some things I was not aware of, and it was a really good conversation. She's, for those that are interested, I'm shocked, and I think her, even she said even family members have, it only can be David, sending his mom's strength, because I don't know how she's even surviving right now. I had made this post here, just mentioning that how she goes there twice a day to see her son, and everything's covered except, so as far as the funeral cost, everything has been covered except she has not got the headstone yet. And she was telling me how she might have to, she had designed this really beautiful headstone for David, and she was, they gave her a quote, and it was just crazy, and she was polite about it. She took the quote, and I don't know if there's anybody out there who possibly knows anybody, maybe, or as far as get her cheaper. She said she would travel because they're wanting $12,000 for this, but I don't want her to have to cut corners when it comes to her son, because this is just absolutely unreal. I'm gonna include the GoFundMe. This GoFundMe was created back when he was sick with the expectation, you know, it was to pay for expenses because there was always a lot of travel. And now we have funeral cost. And if anybody wants to help, I just want her to have this so much. So here's the link. You guys, everything's, you know, the funeral costs and stuff were over $30,000 and everything's covered, but so far she's got it all paid except the headstone. So, but I want to read something here, just her comment before I leave, because I want you guys to hear this in her own words. Actually, somebody had commented here named Crime on My Mind who had no idea, you know, there's still people finding out what Tiffany has been going through. And she just said she had mentioned here that she had no idea. And I just commented on she's okay, hanging in there as best she can, basically just surviving at the moment and only doing things that are practical and logical, as her priest suggested. David is still her whole life and will always be. I really want to make sure she gets the headstone she wants and doesn't have to cut corners. She was talking about having to get a totally different headstone than she wanted because the one she wanted was more than expected. I don't know, maybe we could find someone who could give her a better price at the very least. I really don't want her to have to get something different than the one she designed for David. You guys, please help me help Tiffany get this for her son. I feel it's so important. So I guess she saw that and left a comment here. And I just want to read it real quick for everybody. It says, I'm crying reading what you wrote in reply to Crime under this post, Siggy. Tears are pouring down my face. You have never missed an opportunity to ask for prayers, to make sure that David was okay, and to check on me sometimes every other day, and how you have tried endlessly to help me lay my son to rest by keeping on with sharing this. I've thought so many times maybe I should just go live and tell everyone what I need for David. Not like I have anything to lose. I've already lost everything. David was my everything. I just haven't been able to bring myself to press the live button. Everyone asks me what I need, what they can do. There is nothing. Just what I can do now to make his resting place beautiful without overdoing it. I went and sat down before the funeral to create a headstone for him. I designed it myself, but I'm using David's words on the headstone. There's a story to go with it and a gift of words he left behind. And as usual, there he goes again, making everything as easy as possible. David is such an intentional person. He thought this through so deeply. I'll never understand why God couldn't have allowed him to heal here on earth. This money in the GoFundMe was supposed to be to travel to a different country for care if needed to. It was for him to live and to go on to be all right. And now he is gone. They say you can't take your money with you when you go. David is taking it all because he deserves everything I own and all I have. He was cheated out of and robbed of a beautiful, promising life. All the things he would have gone on to do. I'll never get over this. And thank you for being a true friend and there when I needed someone to lean on. The only thing I left is to pay for the headstone. Everything else is paid for. I paid everything before the bills were even sent out to make sure there were no loose ends, and David went straight into heaven. With all you are going through yourself, you still find it in your heart without a second thought to share this. You have been an amazing friend to me in what is and ever shall be the absolute worst time of my life. I want you to know what this means to me, but I don't think that thank you would cut it. The only way that I can show you how much I appreciate the person you are is to be there for you like you have been for me. It's been 2 weeks tomorrow since David was laid down in the cemetery, and it isn't lost on me who has been there and the loss of him who hasn't. You stayed on the phone with me for 6 hours. That is sisterhood, Ziggy. It's why women need other women. Thank you for being there for me. I wish I could hug you so tight. I wish more people knew the real you, who you are on the inside. YouTube is so insignificant, and the things people do here don't matter when real life happens. I'm blessed to be surrounded by the most beautiful friends, and you are one of them. Support comes sometimes from some of the most unlikely places, and then other times the people you think would be first to show up or be there are nowhere. It makes it all more difficult. Hard and bitter pills to swallow. My old community has really shown up for David and for me. This community seems to ignore a lot of things, and it's pretty cruel. But so many subscribers with channels have tried to get the word out, and I see because they tag me. Creators have made posts for prayers and love, and that is all I ever cared about. But now I have a really big project on my hands. I probably should just say I need them help. I need help. I would do anything for David, no matter what it is. I don't remember a time where someone needed something or anyone to help, and I always did my best, even when I wasn't fond of someone. I have a newfound respect for so many people. I know who they are, and I'll never forget it. I have an itemized list that I can provide if anyone asks. I have that here with me. I actually sent it to Benny several weeks ago when we last spoke. That was before David's services, so he can speak to the validity of that paper. I didn't spend a long time at all at the monument company. I knew exactly what I wanted for David the second I sat down. All black granite stone. David's name, date of birth, anniversary date, his own quote that he wrote in header, and a blessed mother engraved on it. It isn't what is on the stone that is most expensive. It isn't what is on the stone that is most expensive. I kept it classy and so simple. It's the actual stone that is priced unbelievably high, and I don't think it is reasonable or logical at all that they charge people this much for stone from the earth. The tablet, which is the stone that stands upright, is $5,364. The base, $3,182. The etching, which is far cheaper than I expected, is $1,459. The inscriptions is $1,445. The tax is $701.68. The setting, not sure what that is $588, totaling $12,339. I decided to leave with the design I made and shop around because I do believe fully that I can get a far better price somewhere else. Am I absolutely willing to rent a truck and pick up the stone across the country? Or no, she said, and I am absolutely willing to rent a truck and pick up the stone across the country if I needed to and drive it back home and have it engraved after the fact. Whatever I can do to lessen the price, I would go anywhere for this to get it done reasonably, so long as I can make David's eternal resting place beautiful for him. I could put my son on an altar in the cemetery under Jesus Christ. Sorry. I could put my son on an altar in the cemetery under Jesus Christ himself, and that would only then display how grand and how completely amazing he truly is. But I'm not a billionaire. This means so much to me that you are trying to help me with David Stone, Siggy. I wish I could give you a great big hug. And if anyone was to ever contact you and wants to see proof I have every single thing, you're a real one, Ziggy. There's a list of people I would literally do anything for. After all that they have been to me and to David, you are one of them. So I just wanted people to see that because, in her own words, so you just don't hear it from me, like, she could really use the help. And I just think, I can't think of anything else more, anything more like, what's the word? Worthy of people's money, if you have it. So the GoFundMe is in the description. I really want to help. I hope that, this is not anything that has to be just me. And it doesn't have to, even if people that don't like me, if we could just come together just to do this, don't even mention me. It's all about David and Tiffany. I just want help with this. No, like her love for her son made us cry, I think. You know, it's so horrible, guys. And I already read that once, so it I was prepared a little bit. I had recorded a video to post, but for some odd reason, the audio didn't work. So I just thought I would just wing it. I don't think people are aware exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people that just don't know. You know, so this is her only child. He's 20 years old. He's going to be 21. I'm trying to talk about him in the present because I know that that's what he wanted. I'm going to find the whole clip of when he was on my channel. Like, I feel so honored to have been the only Tiffany. It like kind of bothers Tiffany a little bit, you know, that, you know, he was on my channel, you know, he wasn't even on Tiffany's own channel. So I think I'm going to find that. Tiffany sent me the link to the video she thinks it's on, and I'm going to find that and put that into a short for everybody. And then I'm also going to attach the GoFundMe to that. Because, like, there you could just hear how of an amazing person I mean, the whole time. Like, I don't even know. Tiffany has been so protective of him. So I never even heard him in the background ever. Definitely, yeah, I never heard him. The first time I ever heard his voice was on my channel when he was sick. And I mean, he just sounded so, I don't know, unbelievable at such a time, you know. She is. I told her, like, she was born to be a boy's mom for sure. And the love, like, that he has for her is exponential. And if you see any old videos of them, it's crazy. Like, she always has loved David with everything. It's been her whole life, her whole world. So there's at least she can never say, like, she shouldn't have any would've, could've, should've. Like, she really did everything she could. So and I think that's why people need to, like, use her story as a way to, you know, open up your eyes a little bit about what's important in life. You know what I mean? Like, I know that David has changed my life, seriously. Just hearing about him through Tiffany, you know, we've gotten real close, like, the last several months, but I don't know. Before that, you know, it's just, I think this whole experience just got us close. You know what I mean? We both have only child. I don't know. You guys always know I've always had a soft spot for Tiffany. I always knew that there was some reason why. You were there, Paula? Oh, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna make that into a short. I'm gonna do that. But definitely make that my goal tomorrow if I don't get it done today. So anyways, if you guys could help, that'd be amazing. If there's any other creators out there that can help, like, just, I mean, feel free. I mean, please. Like, I can't think of any other thing that, if we can't come together on this, what can we come together on? You know what I mean? So anyways, guys, I hope you guys all have a great day. Stay warm out there. We've got probably, like, I don't know, what, 2 feet of snow? I don't know. Let's ask. How much snow is there on the ground currently in Shelbyville, Indiana? La 14.7 inches. Most recent snowfall. Oh wait. 17 inches. In the last, okay, so the last 24 hours, it's almost 15 inches. But total is 17 inches. And that's 3 hours ago total. So it could definitely be more now. I don't even think we're supposed to be driving. Are we allowed to be driving in Shelbyville, Indiana currently? A travel warning, red alert, is currently in effect for Shelby County, Indiana, meaning travel is restricted to emergencies only due to dangerous snow-covered roads. Yeah, I don't know. Good luck trying to drive in that. We saw a four-wheeler even trying to go through it, like with a snowplow. It was comical. The snow was like bigger than his tires. Oh my gosh. Lake effect from Lake Michigan, or it's craziness. All right, guys. I'll tell you what Tiffany would say. Hold your kids tight. Hug your kids. I know she doesn't have any respect for anybody who doesn't, take care of their kids, and they just kind of, that definitely makes her mad, when she would love to have her son here right now. So definitely do not take for granted your relationships with your people, your kids especially. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you later.